It is now my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Professor Ilian Mihov, Dean of INSEAD. Ilian has joined INSEAD in 1996 as a professor in economics. He started his distinguished academic career at Princeton University, where he received two fellowships for his PhDs. The second one was specifically to work together with Ben Bernanke, former Federal Reserve Chairman. Together they published 4 papers, one of which was on the Great Depression, which did come in handy both for Ben Bernanke as well as for Ilian. And Ilian was on CNBC's Squawk Box a lot during the financial crisis. At INSEAD, before becoming the dean, Ilian has been teaching the macroeconomics core course and actually been winning the Best Teacher Award in both MBA and EMBA several times. One of his MBA classes even created a song for him and published it on YouTube. Please don't look it up now. It's called the Mihovian Rhapsody. As a dean, among his many accomplishments, he has also been recognized by UN Women with the He for She Award for his promotion of gender equality. A less well-known fact is that Ilian was also nominated to be Deputy Prime Minister of Bulgaria, which fortunately for us, he turned down. Please help me welcome Ilian Mihov, Dean of INSEAD.
Thank you very much, Urs. Apologize for my voice. I lost a little bit of it, but I'll try to keep it up. Dear family, friends, alumni, INSEAD staff and faculty, dear speaker, Komping has been several times to INSEAD, but this is a special occasion, so welcome to our graduation ceremony for the class of 2019D. Especially I want to welcome all of you, our graduates. Today is the beginning and not the end of your relationship with INSEAD, because you are the INSEAD of the future. You saw the story of INSEAD briefly in this video. What is important to remember from this story is that when INSEAD was founded in 1959, 60 years ago, it was founded as a mission-driven school. It was founded not only to bring management education to Europe, but also to promote peace and prosperity by bringing together people from all over Europe, from countries that were at war only 15 years before that. The vision of our founder, Georges Doriot, is still alive today. We are so proud that we have over 90 nationalities on campus, and we're so proud that in addition to teaching management, we're also promoting cultural understanding and tolerance among different nations. You also saw that in the past 60 years, the school has achieved a lot of success. We started the first one-year MBA program. We started the first international MBA with multiple campuses. We pioneered simulations. We're one of the first schools to admit women in 1967, opened the campus here in Singapore in 2000, Abu Dhabi in 2010. Today we're doing even more. We are opening now a facility in San Francisco. We launched the Kaufman Global Institute for Business and Society and tons of other initiatives. However, with all this success, we have to recognize that the speed at which we're moving is slow. We might be one of the best business schools in the world. We're probably the best business school in the world. I think that all of us agree here. But how good are we to address the challenges that the world is facing? And the world today is facing incredible challenges. Challenges related to the environmental and climate change, challenges related to social cohesion, populism, rising inequality, challenges related to new technologies for the future of work. To really understand the severity, the gravity of the moment that we live in, we need to go back in time. 2,000 years ago, the average person in the world did not enjoy high levels of consumption. Basic food, basic shelter, clothing, and not much more. For the following 18 centuries, from year 1 to year 1820, living standards did not increase significantly for most of the population. In the beginning of the 19th century, still 9 out of 10 people lived in extreme poverty. Today, life expectancy doubled compared to 2 centuries ago. Incomes have increased 15 times only in a matter of 200 years. This is magical growth. It's useful to remember that growth is only a recent phenomenon. We have experienced it only for the last 200 years. All these things that we have today, computers, phones, cars, airplanes, and so on, were just invented in the last 200 years. We are fascinated by these technologies and by the ascent of the human race, but in this fascination, we often ignore the costs associated with this spectacular episode in the history of the world. Environmental damage is pervasive, but more importantly, we often forget to recognize that the technological progress that we witness, the progress in general that we witness, has led to a lot of social negative byproducts. A lot of social calamities, political calamities, and so on. In the 19th century, the political system could not deal with the industrialization and with the economic needs at that time, and it collapsed. Absolute monarchies, aristocracy, all kinds of regimes collapsed to give way to the liberal democracy, communism, later fascism. These ideologies were invented as a way to respond to economic needs. In the 19th century, as the world was enjoying the use of steam engines, the discovery of electricity, light bulbs, and so on, at the same time, the British Army fought in 34 wars in 100 years. In South Africa, in New Zealand, in China, many wars in Europe. In 1848, Marx and Engels wrote the Communist Manifesto. It did not come out of nowhere. It was not given to them in stone. It was written because they saw what the system, the economic changes were creating in the social strata. Then in the 20th century, we had 2 world wars, a Cold War, and many other things. So today, a lot of people in the last 6 months started talking about sustainability, about the need to rethink capitalism. Financial Times is running, full pages on this topic. 181 CEOs of the biggest American companies signed a statement. But actually, it's much more than this. We acknowledge that we need to look back and do things differently going forward. But at the same time, we have to recognize that we are experiencing the 4th industrial revolution. And like past industrial revolutions, it can lead to serious political and social calamities. What the effect of artificial intelligence will be is unknown. But what is known, that it actually depends on us. Max Tegmark, professor of mathematics at MIT, wrote a book, Life 3.0, in which he describes what the world could be like. But it is up to us and not to the market to choose the future that we want for the world. Once again, in the last 12 months, you probably have heard me talk about business as a force for good. We know that business can be a force for good. We know that business creation is the only engine of economic growth. We know that economic growth led to this miraculous change in China, in India. In China alone, more than 1 billion people were lifted out of extreme poverty. And that was only because of business creation and economic growth. But that's not enough. We know that business as a force for good requires today that we rethink the social norms, the norms under which we operate. From Yuval Harari, who wrote *The Sapiens* and a couple of other books, we learned that, in fact, we live in an imagined reality. We create a lot of the social constructs that then limit and restrict our behavior. Here is a quote from his book. Ever since the cognitive revolution, sapiens have been living in a dual reality. On the one hand, the objective reality of rivers, trees, and lions, and on the other hand, the imagined reality of gods, nations, and corporations. As time went by, the imagined reality became ever more powerful, so that today, the very existence of rivers, trees, and lions depends on the grace of imagined entities such as the United States and Google. What is normal today? What are the norms that we actually have to rethink, that we need to change? We have to think this in a historical context. In the same way, like in 1960s, you would come to INSEAD or you would go to a top university in the United States and there'll be only men in the room. In the same way, that norm dictated how people behave. We have norms today that dictate the way that we behave. Of course, we look back and we say, how could they do this? But I can guarantee you, future generations will look at us and say, how could actually live and create a system like this? So what are the norms that are changing? We, the society, we want business leaders who not only create phenomenally successful companies, but ones that also create value for society and maximize social impact. And the good news is that change is coming. More and more companies wrestle with the idea how to integrate performance and progress. But there is an urgency to act today because there are imbalances that can result in very volatile resolution. There are imbalances between humans and nature. We are creating deeper imbalances between rich and poor. Imbalances still persist between men and women. We are creating imbalances between the current generation and the future generations. If you haven't heard about OK Boomer, I actually suggest that you go and Google it just to see how the new generations think about the past ones in terms of climate change and environmental damage. So the big question for us is, do you want to be at the vanguard of this change, shaping the new world, or do you want to be a bystander and leave the outcome to market forces? And it's not an abstract you, it's not somebody out there. It's actually you, the graduating class of 2019D. Because we rely on you, on this community, to lead this change. So going forward, I'll ask you three things. First, the world has become much more dynamic and challenging than it used to be. Probably everybody is saying this at any given point in time, but I can guarantee you that if you're sitting in Fontainebleau in year 1019 and somebody asks you, how will Fontainebleau look in year 1069, you'll probably have a very good guess. If today I ask you, how will Fontainebleau look in 2069, we have no idea. So the world is changing much faster. There are a lot of challenges, but challenges can be also opportunities. In March 2016, AlphaGo, the computer program developed by Google's DeepMind, managed to beat one of the world's leading masters of the Asian game of Go, Lee Sedol, in 4 out of 5 games. In game 2, AlphaGo, the computer, played the so-called move 37 in a way that surprised everybody who was watching the game. All analysts were surprised because that was a move 1 out of 10,000 and was really not expected. This move led to the computer winning the game. In game 4, Lee Sedol was behind the game until he played his move 78. And again, everybody was surprised because it was a 1 in 10,000 probability move. And then Lee Sedol won. Because after that, when he was interviewed, he said, I was actually inspired by the computer to start thinking in a different way. So artificial intelligence will pose challenges, but actually let's take these challenges and find our move 78. Second, INSEAD is the business school for the world. I must ask each one of you to determine how you will make INSEAD your own, how you will be INSEAD. How will you contribute to our mission of business as a force for good? We're a different business school. We're mission-driven with strong values. We want the world to admire you not only for the phenomenal success of your company, but to admire you also for what you have done for the society and for the environment. Or in a different way, when we say the environment, we're saying for the future generations. Today is the beginning. It's not the end of your journey with INSEAD. So the third thing I want to ask you is to be ambassadors for INSEAD and for what we represent. INSEAD is about inclusion, diversity, tolerance, friendship. And while some people are building walls, we have to learn how to build bridges and connect each other. So going forward, I wish we can all continue to champion diversity because it is the key to strengthening individuals, businesses, institutions, and society. Let us promote peace and prosperity for every individual, community, and country in the world. We are proud that you did your MBA at INSEAD. I have no doubt that the class of 2019D will change the world for the better and contribute much to the prominence of our alumni and our school. A school that from now on you can call your own. The world is facing incredible challenges. You acquired, in these 12 months, you acquired knowledge, tools, skills to turn these challenges into opportunities. You'll be facing an uphill battle, but you have to win because you are INSEAD. You're not only alumni now, you are our partners in this magical journey which we call INSEAD. Congratulations, thank you, and good luck, amazing class of 2019D. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilian, for making it all the way through. It is now my honor to introduce Mr. Kwon Ping Ho, who is the founder and executive chairman of Banyan Tree Holding, one of the example companies, I would say, that Ilian also talked about as a business, as a force for good. Really a great entrepreneur and very active on the social impact side and sustainability side as well. Now, Banyan Tree Holding is a publicly traded company, went public 25 years ago. It is in the hotel, residential, and lifestyle industry, and I trust a few of you have taken advantage of those facilities on the islands around here. Mr. Ho, however, is also chairman of the trustees of Singapore Management University and sharing his wisdom there, as well as a board member of several companies, and he's also a family man with 3 kids and 3 grandkids. Mr. Ho lived and was educated in Thailand, the US, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Singapore. He holds 2 honorary doctorates and is author of 2 books. The most recent is titled Asking Why, and it reflects his journey in journalism and entrepreneurship over a period of 40 years. Very highly recommended reading for you after graduation. For his services to the country, he has been decorated with the Meritorious Service Medal and Distinguished Service Order by the Singapore government. Please help me welcome Mr. Ho to the podium. Thank you.